Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisrael. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu protect our brave soldiers, and may He watch over every Jew wherever they may be. The Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Baruch Chaim ben Mordechai, Edward ben Ephraim, Shlomo ben Edward, and Yerachmiel Daniel ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted, and may their memories be a blessing. The Parsha Perspective is in honor of the Refuah Shalema of Reuven ben Rachalea, Binyamin ben Tova, Raphael ben Mazal, and Orna Basili. May they have a complete and speedy recovery. This week's Torah portion is a double Torah portion, Parshas Tazria Metzora, Words Define Reality. Before I begin, the release date of this episode is Rosh Chodesh Iyar, the new month of Iyar, and it marks the beginning of a deeply meaningful, a deeply transformative month. Iyar is a unique month that every single day has its own mitzvah, the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer, giving each day purpose. The name Iyar refers to the acronym and to the Rashi Tevis, Ani Hashem Reifecha, I am the Lord your healer, teaching us that healing is not a response to brokenness, but a process built into the journey itself. It is a month that calls us to move forward, knowing that each step is not just progress, but a path towards being whole and connected to God once again. Our Parsha discusses the very complex laws of Tumah and Tara, ritual purity and impurity, shaping not only the physical status but a person's spiritual condition. The Torah introduces us to the laws of Tzara'as, a physical discoloration that reflects deeper spiritual imbalance. This is not a medical condition, but a divine signal often associated with gossip and arrogance. Tzara'as can appear on the body, on garments, and even the walls of the home, extending beyond the individual himself. Only a kohen has the authority to examine and ultimately to determine the status of the tzara'as. When tzara'as is suspected, the kohen conducts an initial inspection, and the affected area is quarantined. After 7 days, it is re-examined to determine whether it has spread or changed. If confirmed, the individual is proclaimed impure and must leave the Jewish camp, and he has to live in isolation until the condition is resolved. Once healed, the purification process involves shaving, immersing in a mikvah, and the bringing of karbanos, of sacrifices. When tzara'as affects garments or homes, the process can require the removal of material or even the demolition before restoration takes place. And these laws outline a structural progress of identification, of separation, and purification within the life of the person who receives or is afflicted by tzara'as and the community at large. However, a question comes to mind. The Torah outlines the laws of tzara'as with clear and visible signs. The discoloration appears, the changes develop, and the condition seems evident to anyone who looks at it, yet the Torah makes something very clear. The status of tzara'as is not determined by what is seen, but by what is said. The Pasuk writes that only when a kohen declares a person impure does the condition take effect and the person is tamei, is impure. Without the kohen's word, the individual remains in a state of purity. And if the reality is already present, if the reality is already visible, then why does everything depend on the declaration of the kohen? What is the Torah teaching us about a condition that exists yet only becomes real through the words of the kohen himself? Rashi, Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, the leading Torah commentary, gives a simple explanation. The Torah writes, "V'huvel Aaron HaKohen," and the individual must be brought to the kohen for evaluation. Rashi explains that even if there is a Talmud Chacham, a Torah scholar, which is fully capable of identifying the signs of leprosy of tzara'as, the status of the individual is not determined until the kohen himself declares it tamei, impure, or tahor, pure. And this teaches us that the condition is not defined by what is seen, but by what is declared. And the Mishnah in Negoim writes that the impurity does not take effect until the words are spoken by the kohen himself. The signs may be visible, but the reality is not established until it is defined through the words of the kohen gadol, or the kohen. giving the Kohen exclusive authority to determine the status and the state of the person who receives leprosy Tzara'as. However, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Loshner, gives us a deeper and more profound explanation. He writes that Tzara'as is not simply a condition that appears without cause. It is a result of a breakdown in the way a person uses their speech. The Gemara in Erchin explains that Tzara'as comes as a consequence of words that create division between people. A person may speak in a way that feels insignificant, yet those words carry weight. It leaves an impact that is not immediately seen. The Torah takes what began internally and brings it into the open, turning something expressed through speech into a visible reality. The person is examined, the person is separated and removed from their community, experiencing in a tangible way the distance they created through the words. The Rebbe explains in the Sicha in Chelek Chav Beis that this process is not simply a punishment, but a system designed to bring a person to recognition and to change. It places them in a position where they must confront the consequences of their actions and then rebuild from there. The Rebbe continues that this is the deeper meaning behind the Kohen's role. If the condition begins through speech, then its status must also be established through speech. The Kohen's declaration is not a technical requirement. It is the moment that defines the individual's reality and begins the process of tshuva, of return. What was damaged through words is now addressed through words, transforming the same force that created the distance into one that brings clarity, that brings direction. The Rebbe's perspective is that speech is not something that passes and disappears, but something that shapes the world a person lives in. The way a person speaks defines the relationships they build, the direction that their lives ultimately take. And when used without care, speech creates separation. But when used with intention, it has the power to restore. It has the power to rebuild. It has the power to bring a person back from a place of challenge to a place of connection and of purpose. And this profound lesson is ever more relevant as we enter the month of Iyar, a time defined by the Sefiras HaOmer, where each day carries its own mitzvah and has its own responsibility of growth. Sefira is not simply about counting days. It is about refining who we are with consistency and with intention. If Tzara'as reveals the damage that words can create, this time reminds us the power that we have to rebuild. And it takes one day at a time. Each day becomes an opportunity to speak with greater awareness, to act with greater discipline, and to shape the reality that reflects who we are meant to be. In our daily life, it is imperative to realize that real change does not happen all at once. It begins with honesty, the ability to see where we are, not just where we want to be. And too often people wait for the clarity or the confidence to begin taking action. But growth begins with the moment we choose to move forward without it. And each day represents a new opportunity, a possibility in the shift in how we listen, on how we speak and how we respond. The work may feel very subtle, but over time it compounds into real change. When we stay consistent in small ways, our thinking sharpens, our directions become clearer, and step by step we become someone more disciplined, someone more focused, and ultimately becoming more capable of reaching a level of success we once thought was completely out of reach. There's a profound quote that I once read. Transformation is not an event. It is a pattern repeated until it becomes your identity. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.